couple of thing about the journey is like people want to be inspired. People want to take wild creative journeys. People want to take bets on themselves, right?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Founders Ascent. Today, we have a special guest, Mr. Breen. Mr. Breen, give us a quick introduction about yourself. What do you do, and how'd you get started doing it?
Yeah, appreciate that, boys. Shannon Breen, Phoenix, Arizona. I am the founder, co-CEO here at Freightvana, third-party logistics company founded out of Phoenix, Arizona. Um, Growing relatively fast. Background in finance on a personal level. Grew up in Oregon. Moved to Phoenix in 1990. Love my golf. Always love Phoenix now. Can't really picture anything else being home. From a business perspective, started this business about 27 months ago with 24 of the most talented logisticians I knew and worked with in a prior life at a large publicly traded company. We came here with a dream of changing industry, doing it a different way with a certain type of culture and vibe to it. In that time, we've quadrupled our headcount, one of the fastest growing, like I said, in the nation, and just wildly interested to see where we take this business from a founding perspective, though. So, sure, we'll dive into it. Got a lot of other failures and experiences on the entrepreneurial journey that is life and business. So we can get into a little bit of that. But yeah, man, I love it. I love being the point guard of a ship. I love growing and building business, and I love all the challenges and even some of the heartache that comes with it, fellas. So I appreciate you guys reaching out and look forward to chatting with you on it.
Yeah, of course. We're happy to have you on. So, just to get started here, the company was started, would you say 27 months ago?
Yeah,
And so,
June of 21.
sounds like it got started around COVID time. Did COVID have anything to do with you starting it, or no?
Yeah, that's a great question on COVID. COVID, there's two real significant kind of changes life. One, I think anytime someone goes into business, there's they call maybe an inflection point, right? For me, I was working at a publicly traded company. My father got sick, as many people have loved ones that come into ailment, and it was just this really aha moment for me where I reassessed values, fulfillment, challenges, legacy. Really, I think, for me, I won't speak for everybody, but for me, right, my father was always kind of my superhero, right? My father was one I grew up with, going to ball fields, competing. My father's the one that when I think back in my youth, you know, playing sports in the driveway, in the cul-de-sac, like it all comes back to my dad from a competitive nature. So to see him struggle with his health was this aha moment where for me, I realized, man, like the idea of just working just for paychecks or just working just for titles. And honestly, like when I was younger, I think we all get a little lost in, hey, what's my role? What's my title? Like, am I making X? And I don't, if you're competitive, that's part of the competitive loop. As I got older, that kind of disseminated. I changed my value schema. My dad getting sick changed that. To go back and really answer your question, Gavin, um, COVID was just a time to kind of reassess for a lot of us life. So in addition to that kind of sickness, then it followed up with a COVID time where now I'm in a building with no team, which was weird for me based on how large of the teams I manage. Now I'm also working from home a lot. Now I'm also seeing my kids in the morning instead of only at night. Now I'm like so much fundamentally changed for the world, but also just even structurally for me, it gave me an opportunity to sit back, reassess what was important to me, maybe evaluate what I didn't love about my prior life. Between that and my father, and just maybe a burning ambition to kind of tap into that entrepreneurship, I knew it was time to move on and start the Freightvana journey.
And so you said 24 people in the company.
Correct.
How did you convince people to trust you with some crazy idea?
Well, you probably have to ask those people, honestly. That's probably their story. My story for those people would be this, and this is kind of what I shared with a group of young aspiring entrepreneurs here locally a few nights ago, guys. Couple of thing about the journey is like people want to be inspired. People want to take wild creative journeys. People want to take bets on themselves, right? Sometimes in large companies, the company's mission, the company's journey, and how they feel doesn't match up with some of those things that I described. And so knowing that in my heart, for one of the reasons I wanted to leave, and having the ability to forge bonds, relationships, and be kind of in those trenches of business for about a decade with certain people, you knew how certain people ran, you knew their ambitions, you knew their talents. And so then when I went to leave, I think it was really, I don't want to say easy, it was challenging, but easy to sit in front of those people that you had gone through those battles with and said, hey, like those were all really great and fundamental, but now let's go fight this wild mission and let's go fight it with this amazing eclectic group and let's go do this thing in a wild way where we can kind of set and chart our own course. And so building that relationships over a decade of doing business, and that's what some people like, oh, just let me tell you what you're going to get paid, and people still ain't doing it. You're going to quit your job for that, BJ? Right? You're still young to have a full blown career, but 5 years in, you're going to just leave that all behind to go follow some guy because he says you a bunch of things? No, like you'd have to trust that person. So I think fundamentally it's how you show up for people, your authenticity, your passion, and the belief that people have. And then when you come up and say, hey, with that belief, let's go do this thing, and here's my commitment to you, then certain people want to be on a ride like that in their lives. And I hopefully created an opportunity for them to do that. And I think where we're going is a testament to that.
Wow. And all 24 of them were working at the prior company that you were at with you?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
What was sort of like step one for you? Like, okay, you guys are all leaving together, all starting.
No, that's not what happened. So that's that. Yeah. So my co-founder and I, a buddy I've known since we were 10, we are really the two co-founders, and then you have a founding team. Um, the step for us was burning the boats, so to speak. You guys, you're avid readers. You told me when we met offline. So if you burn the boats and decide that, hey, our life and future, like we're going to parachute out of this plane and we don't know where we're going, but we're going to do it together. That was our moment where we quit early January of 2021. Both of our pretty successful corporate careers. We burned the boats and then we said, hey, we're going to go figure this thing out. So that was really the first step. 5 months later, we came back and then all those teams were able to join us based on, fundraising and all the things we did in the interim. Or in the middle ground, whatever you want to call
And so you
And
guys have
and I imagine this is not really a company that you could bootstrap per se. Did you get funding?
Yes. Yeah. Significant amounts.
And what was the process like for that?
Gut wrenching.
was
I
it
mean, yeah. We'll go ahead, BJ. You ask your question. I'll
uh,
fill in the gaps. But
was it one main like lead investor and a few ones? Was it a sizable blend?
it ended up working out with one main lead investor, high net worth individuals, friends, and family, which sounds like this really easy, clear path. I think the people that the beauty is always in the story and the journey. People say that all the time, but it truly is, guys. Right? Like when we quit, we had no funding.
Yeah.
Zero. No commitments, hardly no conversations, zero. Like people are like, oh, you had it all lined up. I don't know which part you had lined up, but I'm just telling you guys the story as true as I can. Nothing was lined up. So basically what happens is you quit your job. Let me explain how this happens. I've got a 3 and 5-year-old at home. I got a home. I was making pretty good money. You quit your job. You go to making zero money. You have zero commitments. You have nothing. But every time I come home, I still have a 3-year-old. I still have a 5-year-old. I still have old man bills, which you guys don't understand yet, but one day you will. Right? You got the house, the mortgage, you got kids, I got step kids, I got cell phone, I got insurance, I got everything everybody else got, and some more. So I got all those bills coming. You now no longer have insurance, which is an interesting one, but they do offer this amazing plan called Cobra where you can spend like 4 times what you used to spend just to cover your family for the coverage you used to have. That's an amazing experience. You should try that on one day. Get to do that for 5 months. But I would tell you this, boys, you put all that at your back, You put all that at your back, you wake up with I mean, I may or may not come off as someone with some level of fire and passion, but you put all that at your back, let me tell you how you wake up with a fire in your belly, my friends, right? You attack every day. And so, hey, no, when I said gut wrenching, it was. Lots of doors get shut, not interested, blah, 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 waste your time, blah, blah, blah. Pains in starting just the fundamental structure of the bid, all the things. But every day you get up and you got to go to work and you got to figure it out because there is no option. Because what did I tell you, boys? You burn the boats. There is no going back. The only way to survive, just like that story where they said to burn the boats, that's the reason why they said it. There was no turning back. You had to go conquer the thing because there was no escape other than forward. There was no backward. And essentially the only way that I felt like I could do it and give it the appropriate justice was to burn the boats. Could I have done all those things and limped in and halfway, 1 foot in, 1 foot out? But you know what? I also didn't love that because you know why, guys? I had a whole team of people and a company that was paying me to do a job. And there was no fundamental way to do that job half in, half out. And so I thought that was a disservice to them, the company, and my team to be half in, half out. Not that I think like it's wrong if you do that or anything like personally. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to run through the finish line. I wanted to be that type of a person. Um, cool story I'll share with you, man. I was on a team meeting 9 a.m. in the morning and I was quitting at 11. A lot of people check out, right? Also ran a full-blown holiday party for my entire team. Why? Because I had done that for 9 years prior. That's what my team wanted from me, and I poured the months and the blood and the sweat and the tears into making sure the COVID-based celebration, which we ended up doing on Teams, was just as good as it could be compared to the ones we used to do in person. Why? Because that's what the team deserved. That's what the job demanded. Could I have easily just, we're not going to do that this year. No one was telling me I had to do those things. But for me, the way I was raised, the way I was taught, the way that I'm built, I was going to do all those things before I walked out those doors. And I did those. I burned the boats and then I built the thing. And now I'm doing the thing.
Yeah.
And was sort of getting funding like the biggest challenge you had, or was it just a precursor to bigger and follow?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, maybe to answer some of your question, BJ, was deciding that you were going to leap.
Or the funding? That was
Or yeah, you got to realize you work your whole career, BJ, right? You got this mental idea of like, oh, I've had this success and that success, and success is defined by role, and success is designed by money in the bank or bonuses or paychecks or all the things, right? And then you're literally sitting back saying, I'm gonna give it all away. And you're like, I literally would sit at my home in my backyard and look at the stars and be like, wow, like what on earth am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, is this really going to happen? Like, is this, I feel like I'm being drawn to this thing, but like, think about what I'm planning. Oh, by the way, I got little kids inside sleeping and like, and they're like, wow, like this is heavy, right? Like that decision will be the heaviest decision I've ever, when I look back, simply because without that decision, nothing else matters. And that was a big piece. The other second part of that question, BJ, was in resigning that day, there's no way that I didn't harbor a lot of like emotional baggage, feeling like I abandoned a bunch of people that entrusted to me to lead them as their leader. And so that was really hard to like rationalize in my head as I went to quit.
Okay. And talking more about leadership here. So you're a co-CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk more about what that is like? Because it's not necessarily something that I've really heard about. And so what's the dynamic like with being a co-CEO?
It's challenging, right? I think for us, when from a co-CEO perspective, knowing Johnny, like early stage, it was, hey, I'm not here for the ego, right? I'm not here for the title.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, we'll just split it and we'll figure it out. And he's got a different focus a lot of the time on the business. He runs an advisory firm for us that's built within our ecosystem, doing mergers and acquisitions. That's his background. Um, it's challenging in a lot of ways. We got to figure out like where the roles start and stop. And so something I wouldn't say that's super easy to figure out, but I think the number one piece of it was not built on ego, not built on a kingdom build. So when you have that, I think it works. Structurally, it has its challenges, and we're still working through that on a daily basis and figuring out how that works. And they might not be that way forever for our team, right? Like, who knows? But when we started, it was all about just getting started. It wasn't about like drawing lines and feeling like we had to have certain territory, so to speak. So
Yeah. And are there any big lessons you've learned along the way about being a leader, and what do you think that looks like to you? What does it mean to be a leader?
oh man, to me it means everything, dude. I go back to when I was a kid. I love leading, I love leading on basketball courts and pickup games. I love being in the fight, and I love setting the tone, and I love accomplishing things with people. And that's not business. That goes back to ball yards and driveways and all of the things, right? And so for me, I just has always loved that, accomplishing things, going through the fight with people. Like, to me, that's how I was born and built, and like my best experiences. So then when I transitioned that to business, like being a leader for me is just people entrusting you to carry them through, set the stage, set the tempo, and make the best decisions so that everyone can get the best outcome. And then they look into your eyes, they know that it ain't because it's for you, it's for us. And to build that type of camaraderie, when you can walk into those fires and you got people look into your eyes and know that that's what you're about, man, there is nothing in my life that feels better than when I feel like I'm that person for people.
So would you say your style of leadership, you give them 100 back?
Yeah, I'd say I believe in like the Gary V mentality, like no one should outwork you. Right? You're the boss, right? The boss is that set it up like, hey, I set this thing up so everybody works, and then like I get like the lion's share of the fruits. That I couldn't think more oppositely. Like, I'm hey, I'll set the tone, I'll work my ass off. I hope you can. Let's go accomplish something together. But like, there won't be a day that you doubt what the effort and intentionality is here.
And so you've managed big teams in the corporate space.
Yeah.
That skill over. What do you think is the sort of delegating?
Number one, who do you choose to delegate to? Right? Any team, right? You got to know people's skills. You got to put them in a position to succeed. Lastly, you really got to know what makes them tick, right? BJ, what makes you tick isn't what makes the guy with the 3 first names on the podcast with us tick. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
I mean, let's be honest. We can sidebar, but Gavin, Eric, Thomas, that's conflicted. There's a lot going on there.
Too much.
And then BJ, we don't even know what BJ stands for, but it probably isn't BJ, right? Go ahead, BJ. Tell the world what you got.
Yeah,
It's Braden Jack.
Braden Jack. See? Look at us all opening up on this podcast together. It's just special. I feel like this is
character development. I appreciate you doing this for us.
Look, you guys are, you're in your college stuff. You're trying to learn and grow. I just think the way to grow is we gotta break ourselves down before we build ourselves up, fellas. So
Happening right now. I appreciate it.
And
I like Braden Jack for what it's worth. I'd probably rock Braden Jack full before I just cut it down to BJ. But hey, that's just me.
tempting. I should consider it.
Hey, you're young enough. You can change anything, BJ. Welcome to my world and my mind, BJ. We can go anywhere, anytime. So this is gonna get weird. I'm here for the ride. So go ahead.
I was thinking about all this serious leadership stuff, and now we're names.
I know.
Well, your company, Freightvana, right, is the name?
Freightvana, yeah, man.
what was sort of your process for picking names? Because for me, it always takes forever.
Yeah.
Oh no.
What? What's oh
It's
no?
just so hard.
It is so hard. So like I love marketing, right? Like I don't know if I've ever shared this on a podcast. Dream job. You guys are really young, but you guys are students of history. You ever watch the Mel Gibson movie What Women Want?
I know.
Put that on the weekend watch list in your dorms, like get a whole group
Okay.
of bros together. What Women Want could be educational for you guys, right? So essentially he's this marketing guru downtown Chicago. But he gets to do the pitch decks for like Nike and all the biggest companies in the country. I can't remember what happens to him, but he hits his head or something. But when he wakes up, he can literally hear what the women are thinking, all of them, just the women. And he goes nuts, right? That's not the purpose of the story. The purpose of the story is to roll back just a touch there and say, hey, he's a marketing guru that lives in downtown Chicago, gets to do the pitch decks for the largest company on the planet. Love that. That was like my unicorn dream job if I could have created that as a kid. Just didn't really ever get into marketing. Now I'm going to tie it back to the initial question. That's a real talent that I've tried to come up with here. Freightvana, the name. So no idea, but like in our space, everybody's got like, if it was me, it'd be like Breen Logistics or whatever the heck logistics. And the other really popular one in life and in logistics is like, we're going to do 3 letters, right? MPW, APD, AZY, ZLP, like my God, right? So I was like, I don't want to do that, right? Because I feel like everybody's done that. And if you want to be different, then unfortunately you got to try to be different, right? That's kind of part of the deal. So I really wanted something that stuck out. Kind of had like a Nirvana vibe to it. There's successful companies with the Vana kind of end at the moniker that are doing well in the market. There's T-Vana, kind of that state of being. And honestly, Johnny and I were working out. I'll give you the real story. We're working out in the gym. I'm in this pull-up rack, which that's not my strength, even though by my build you might think that, that would be. And he goes to use the restroom and he comes back and I just throw at him. I was like, Freightvana. And now Johnny's not a marketer, if we're being honest, and he would say the same thing if he were on with us. And he was like, looked at me and he's like, well, I ain't got anything better. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I know. But that still didn't matter because I had to go figure out, like, I'm getting all excited in this gym at like 6 in the morning. And now I got to go figure out, like, I've never heard it. I've been in this industry 10 years, but like, everybody owns everything and God knows there's a company out there. I'm going to get on Google in 5 minutes and be disheartened. That didn't happen. I got on, bang, start typing in Freightvana. I think one of the search engine places owned the .com, but no one had done anything else. And then I was all in, boys. Then it just like started to grow in me. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, that's it. And I just made it in my head. There seemed to be seemingly no barriers. And so we just went full bore for it, man.
Yeah. Talking about marketing more, or
Yeah,
did you have something?
no, I mean, Vana means gold. So you see that in our deal. I know both of you, I don't know if either of you have taken the, chance to follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on social, but I know following up this, you will, plus all your buddies will. That'll be a really cool connection between us and UTD. So I appreciate that and all the support. But go ahead with your marketing question.
Yeah. So with marketing, how much time do you guys spend on marketing? Like how much money you're throwing at it? Like what does that look like?
Oh, I love that question. Money, $0 outside of the people employed here. So
Okay.
this is what I share, and I would share with you and your millions of followers around the world, is that you can cover a lot of ground just by social engineering. Meaning, I used to work at a company, right, where in order to do social media, you needed like 10 people to sign off, and then they'd still say no, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't have a personal brand because, my God, if your personal brand like ever defecated on the great shield of the historical company that was, like, then you'd be shunned out of the place, or someone call you in office and tell you what you couldn't do, right? You guys haven't worked for large corporations. If you ever do, hit me up. You'll be like, hey man, you were right. But it's okay. It's not about being
Yeah.
right, it's sharing the story. So anyways, that's the life in large corporate America, typically. Trucking and logistics is also pretty stodgy. not a lot of people that run trucking companies and even large logistics companies empower their folks, are willing to kind of live on that edge. So for me, and I give a lot of credit to Josh Breeze, who's my director of recruiting. I'll get into that in a second too, but also might as well be my de facto director of marketing, and he probably is both. Um, we came on this ride and we're like, hey, bro, let's just do it different. I got a passion for marketing, channeling my Mel Gibson. He's got a passion for creativity and art and TikTok and all the things. And we're like, let's just change the game. So we do goofy TikToks, we make jokes, we're lighthearted. But the other really key thing we do, Gavin and Braden, is that, why are you guys laughing?
Because it's
I'm going to
funny because
speak it
everyone
into
calls him
existence.
BJ. Everybody calls him BJ.
I know. I like Braden. So I'm going to go with it because it's my podcast and you guys can edit it later if you like.
Okay.
But that's going to
Yeah,
take a lot of work.
this is your episode. Today is your episode. So
Okay. So marketing. So then I got all these people that are really talented. And by the way, I tell people you hire people that you trust and you care about. So why wouldn't you want them to do social media and tell them about your company? So why don't we just do this different? So not only fun and zany and lighthearted and fresh and hopefully hip, right? I don't know. You guys are the young ones. You have to tell me when you start digesting the content, on which I know you will, because you owe it to me.
yeah.
Right? That's your debt for all time.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so just so we're clear. All time debt. You have to consume Freightvana social media.
Okay.
It's a really cheap debt. You're going to enjoy. It's going to make you better. But back to the people. So they also put out the content. I empower the people. They have their personal brands. And then it just starts to explode in a new inventive way that I had never experienced. We're able to be fun. Time wise, it is something we think about every week. We always have something fun we're going to do. Our people enjoy it when we do it. We just did like a fixer upper stint the other day with this kid that'd been here not even 5 minutes. It was his first day. And I sat in this room and he's got to think I'm a psychopath. Like you would never believe that based on this conversation that he would think that I was a psychopath. But like in his first day, I'm like, hey, we're going to do this bit with fixer upper and we're going to like highlight like how we're like, welcome to your new desk and all this. And he was like, in. Right. So that just creates a different vibe. Plus, all the teammates are like, this is dope. Right. And like, he's got a story and he hasn't even worked here for 48 hours. You know what I mean? And he loves it. Right. So it's about being fun. It's about being relatable to your people. It's about telling people a culture. And I think the most important thing is it's being authentic. So when people come here, two things happen on our marketing, gents. We've quadrupled in size. Guess how many recruiters I've paid for hires here? We've quadrupled in 27 months and all the time. So how many recruiters do I have on staff or do I pay? Like
One.
outside recruiters. Zero outside recruiters.
Okay, outside, yeah.
Right? But social media creates this engine where that creates the interest. And then Ricky and Josh, who do all our recruiting, bring the folks in and they like the vibe of the office. And then they tell their friends and they want to come work here at Freightvana. So guess what? I don't need to have a huge marketing budget and I don't need to spend a bunch of money on recruiting. How cool is that, right? So that's a difference maker. Anybody can build that from the ground up. You got to trust your people and you got to empower people. And you also got to do stuff that's fun because people don't want to consume the same boring corporate, stuff that people throw out. Like everybody can tell when it's like dry and disconnected and like every other company that ever did social media, right? Like that's just lame and that ain't attracting anybody. Like, oh my God, that was an amazing, piece. Like, no, that ain't doing it.
It seems like you just proved that culture in a company has like a legitimate financial impact on the bottom line.
Major financial impact, right? Let's get in, we want to talk financial impact, BJ. Everybody's like, what's your growth rate? How many people are you going to have? Growth, right? We're all growth minded, right? We're all entrepreneurs here or aspiring ones, right? I don't know what businesses you guys have or want to build, but think about this. Who tells you about their retention rate, BJ? Or should I say Braden? Or we could even go with Jack. Like I'm down to go middle name only. Because hey, there's got to be someone in your lineage. If we go really think about it, like Jack just didn't come out of nowhere.
Oh.
Right? Your parents didn't just throw Jack. So what, Jack's got a story. So you go Jack, it's honoring someone too. So we could go Jack for purposes of the podcast as an ode to whoever that special person is that your middle name is after.
Jack. Very cool dude. train of thought lost. So with uh, with company culture and retention rate, one cool thing that you may be interested in trying out, or maybe you already do this, that I just heard, company tried out unlimited vacation day.
Yeah.
It boosted productivity. Like after 2 weeks of them like using it for fun, all of them came back to work. They liked working there, and
Yeah. We're a pretty flexible group. Yeah, we don't really do unlimited. We do a lot of
right,
flexibility, work from home flexibility. You need a day. I'll tell you this, I've never seen someone request a day, at least I don't want to piss off some people on the floor or on my team. I've never seen someone ask me, "Hey, I need a day off," and be like, "No, we got work to do." Like never happened. So
right,
I think if you're flexible and open, I think that's what people are looking for.
100%.
My wife worked for a company, a large bank. I won't name them. I won't bank with them because they fired her when she was 6 months pregnant. So they'll never have a dollar of my money. But that's a different story for a different podcast. But point being of that story, like they'd literally track your bathroom breaks, like when you got up off the headset. And so let me tell you this, like absolutely the F not. I'm never working in an environment. I never create an environment like that. Like that's just gross. You know what I mean? And like I can't imagine they have a really good like retention rate in that environment, and I don't want to be anything like that. So
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you want them to trust you, and I guess if they don't trust you, then that's your problem, right? Like something you're doing.
hey, you should hire adults. You should treat people like adults, and
Yeah,
you'll get adult results. I just came up with that. I swear to God, but that has like
I
a
like
blueprint
that.
to
I
it.
do.
100%.
Like we could do
Wow.
like a business card with like a business Hallmark card or a business T-shirt. What was it again? Let's repeat it together because maybe we could like put it into the ether. Hire what is it? Hire recruit adults, treat them like adults, and get adult results. There's a better way to make it like hit because it's
Mhm.
missing. But like
Yeah.
you see where we're at, and just with a little brainstorm offline, I think we've got the next great business T-shirt. Empowering
All right.
people and adults nationally.
Yep.
Sponsored by this podcast by the three name guy and Braden Jack.
Standing
Like
against child labor.
imagine these T-shirts you guys are going to be. I mean, these T-shirts won't. I mean, you won't be able to find a printer at UT that could keep these bad boys in stock, especially if we do them. Now you're not really burnt orange though, right? Is UTD still rocking burnt orange, or do you have a different color because you're not really in in the mothership of Austin?
And green.
It's green and orange.
Come on, guys,
You
really?
know, like University of Miami,
Burnt?
it's kind of like that vibe,
Did you get rid of
like
the burnt orange UTD, or
But still there.
it's not burnt orange.
Oh,
I
It's
don't love any letter after UT because it does honestly remind me of UTI, and it just gives me the wrong vibes altogether. But I know you guys hear that all the time, but it's just like, why do it?
never heard that actually, but
Yeah, just
it's a fair point.
I got a UTD. Where's your mind go?
It doesn't go there. It doesn't.
Okay.
But
Well, hey, I told you I'm, not quite right. So that's just where I go.
yeah, train of thought completely gone.
typically we're pretty
But
good.
yeah,
But this will
not
challenge
until
you because
today.
you guys will be on like a really squarish podcast, and no one will shake you, right? No one will
Yeah.
shake you because it'll be straight in the box. Every question answered a straight way. They'll finish every sentence perfect. They won't fire back. Like you guys will be so prepared. Like this weird, awkward, we're going everywhere type deal. Like it's going to build you as podcasters because you'll never have someone maybe as crazy as me. So then after you've experienced this, like everything's right in your lane. You know what I mean? It's just super easy. Downhill from here, boys.
I can assure you though, like so far you are the only person that's been able to do this. So congrats.
100%. Well, do you hire for this type of insanity as well, or are there other
I
main
do.
traits you look for?
I guess I really do support like the crazy children of the world, right? The misfit children.
I
Like
like it.
I love don't come like be zany, like show me something different, like show your personality, like Don't be buttoned up, because you know what? To your point on production and people, and I'm talking about like meeting people where they are. You don't need to come here and be what you think you should be. Like, come here and be what you want to be. Like, come here and have fun. Come here and dress how you want, right? Come in here and do your thing. Because at the end of the day, if you love that, guess what? You're going to stay. You're going to do great things for this company. You're going to go tell other people that have zany, crazy personalities or new types of experience or talents that we can, grow our company with, to come join us. Like, absolutely, right? It's the best way to live. And I think it changes the way that the quote unquote corporate dynamic, oh, come on in. And this is, a bunch of robots running around, like trying to assimilate to something that honestly, most people don't even believe or love. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So with growth, I guess we talk more about that. Was it difficult for you? Because I think a guest we had on previously, we asked him a question like, what's more difficult, starting it or growing the company? He said scaling the company was a lot more difficult. What would you say? I guess you maybe already answered that.
Yeah. Yeah. What's easier growing? Give it to me a different way. Like, what are you trying to vet out there? Yeah.
I guess you could just answer what was the process like scaling the company?
It's crazy, man. You have no revenue, no customers, no systems, but you got a lot of good people. And
Yeah.
the same as the fundraising, right? You just come to work every day and just go at it, right? And then when you connect with people like the Bradens and the Gavins of the world, right? You just show up your authentic self. And here's what the reality, like, people want to work with people that they believe in their story, that they believe give a shit about their business, like that they believe are authentic. Just like people want to work for those people, guess what? People also want to like partner from a business financial perspective. And here's the thing. How many calls do you think these folks get that all sound the same? How many demos look the same? There's 30,000 people technically in this country that do what I/Freightvana do. They have the license for it. 30,000. How many unique pitches you gonna get, right? So we built our business in a unique way, but having those personalities and being a show for people, like, look, and I'll be honest with you, dude, like I'm the underdog story, right? Like, undersized, uh under athletic, under intelligent, probably growing up, but like scrappy as hell. And so like I bring that same mentality to business. Like I don't want to be the favorite. I want to be the underdog. Like, I want you to doubt me. I want you to, like, my best is when you tell me what I can't do or what can't be done or what's impossible. Like, give it all to me. Like, nothing lights my fire better than that. And so our business story is no different. You start with nothing. We don't know you. We don't respect you. We would never work with you. And be like, okay, right? And like Dion said, you guys follow college football at UTD too, or is that there's like a break point? You guys football guys?
So our UT doesn't have a football team, so
UTD doesn't.
doesn't.
Fantastic chess team. That should get you a sense of the vibe. Fantastic esports. Top two esports.
Top two in esports and world leading in chess. I like it, dude. But you guys know Deion Sanders then, right? Like, going
Yeah.
to that underdog story, like, hey, you keep receipts. Right? You keep receipts. You know who helped you. You know who doubted you. You know who invested you. You know who didn't. And all of that stuff is just fundamentally amazing in the journey. So you keep receipts. If that motivates you, some people aren't like me. Like, sometimes that does nothing for people. For me, that does everything for me. I'm there for the people that are there. And I love the doubters because they motivate me just the same. Or the naysayers, all of them. They call that dark energy in the business. There's a lot of like podcasting and stuff out there talking about like, hey, don't like, they're like, oh, well, you can't, everything's like toxic positivity. Like, it's all this, everything's just roses and rainbows and only be positive. Like, no, I love the dark energy. Like, you gotta find that. Like, for me, dark energy is amazing energy.
Talking about
Go for it. Go for it.
yeah, I really like what you said though with like 30,000 other people are doing what you're doing, right? And so that's something getting into entrepreneurship. I think a lot of people need to understand that is when you go into something, chances are there's going to be somebody that's already doing it. it's going to be like that close to 100% of the time, right? And so
Everybody wants to believe they're like the one of one, but very few companies, Gavin, are ever the one of one. They're usually an amalgamation of a bunch of different companies and hopefully built in a way to improve on a bunch of different stuff, but they're never truly a one of one, like industry leading, like no one's ever done it before. And if
exactly.
and because you know about them, there's 25 of them that did it, you just never heard about it. That didn't mean they were the first to do it, but they did it better, marketed it better, did whatever, but they truly weren't the first. Apple's the best example of that, right? Your techies there at UTD will appreciate the story, BJ, but like you go to the iPod. Oh, the iPod was fantastic. It was all these things. Well, before the iPod, there was an MP3, but they didn't package it the same way. They didn't market it like Apple's marketing made MP3 technology like with a few different overlays. Like they weren't the first, but they basically took that thing, repackaged it, remarketed it, and then hey, Apple, if everybody remembers, before iPhones, you guys are way too young, probably not even born, if I'm now being honest with myself, easily not born, unless you're a lot older than you look. But back in my day, when that iPod came out, like that was a game changer. And all they did was repackage the MP3. And every MP3 person before was probably like, oh, damn. Like, what? We were literally running the stuff. And then, like, this company comes in and makes it like this whole new thing. It's amazing. Marketing, man. Packaging.
1,000
Creativity.
songs in your pocket, right? There was also the thing where he finally figured out what the pocket in the jeans with the tiny pocket, and he pulled out the device.
I love
Everyone
video.
went crazy. That's
It's
sort of
awesome.
marketing.
And I felt so bad for my loving sweet mate in college because he was a DJ, and now I'm really gonna date myself. And you guys you'll have to Google this one to figure it out. You know, everything was on CDs, right? But my buddy, right, he loved music, and there was this innovation. They called it the mini disc. Now this mini disc came out, it was dope. A little plastic case, CD inside of it. He goes out and buys thousands of dollars, DJ equipment, handhelds, mini disc recorders, mini disc mixers. The problem was, boys, that MP3 and that iPod came out right after. So like there was no long live the mini disc. That lifespan was so short, and immediately he was, sitting on a pile of wasted equipment, and no one was producing mini discs ever again. He held on for a long time. God bless him. He was stubborn to the game. But even then, it broke him down. So it was a very, very short stint on planet Earth for the mini disc. But it was a cool product for about 5 seconds. Go look it up. It'd be pretty dope. You guys learned something today. You haven't learned anything yet. We're about 50 minutes into this thing, and I feel like you just got your first piece of knowledge. That's pretty cool. Usually it takes at least 3 hours for me.
Awesome. I'm so glad we were able to learn that. Thank you. But yeah, I think
changing, Gavin. I know.
But yeah, I think kind of like building on top of what we're talking about, just with not being the first to do something. It sounds like what you guys have done, and you've said this, I guess, is just be who you are, get the culture as good as possible, and by being yourself, I guess you could say, you're going to be the quote unquote 1 in 7 billion by being who you are, truly. And because of that, you will deviate by nature from what everybody else is doing by being yourself, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And I think the funny part, the interesting part about that, you talk about change, and then you see other, like, hey, there's a famous quote, I'm going to butcher it here, but like, well, I won't butcher it if I just think about it for a second, but copying is the best form of hit it to me, BJ. You know what it is.
Mimicry is the
Mimicry is not mimicry. You're just making stuff up now.
Copying is the best compliment.
No. It's on that line though, and I don't know why. It's a Friday afternoon, so this is why we're all struggling probably. Good God, someone Google it. Who's going to bother the life out of me? But anyway,
Copying is the best form of flattery.
It's not copying though.
Imitation
Come
is the best form of
Come
flattery.
on, BJ. Stop using copying. Imitation is the best form of flattery. So what you end up seeing, Gavin, is other people try. Why are you laughing? That's how we got. We just also learned something else. Either way,
You're right. Sorry.
they come in. Other companies try to mimic, imitate, right? That same type of flow. But the problem is, Gavin, what they don't realize is they ain't got the other goods, right? Because you got to have all the commensurate pieces. You can't just do like social media like Freightvana to be Freightvana, because you already mentioned you got to have all these pieces. You got to have all this infrastructure. You got to have all this type of people, all this type of hiring, all this type of leadership. That all is the recipe book. People are like, oh, I did the one thing like them, so I'm them. No, you're not. And you won't be, right? And so, like, whether it's the business infrastructure, or the marketing, or the recruiting, or the social media, like, you have to be authentic self, because if you're just copying other people because they're getting a run, you still won't be that thing because you're missing all the other pieces. And that's where other companies struggle. And that is really, guys, why I wanted to build the company from the ground up, because all those commensurate pieces, I can help mold, and our leaders can help mold, and we can be that thing that, like, you can't just flip on a dime and be that thing. You've got to like have it from the ground up, and it's got to be real, and it's got to be tangible. You feel me?
Yeah.
In being unique, I mean, everyone has sort of hopped on this random AI trend, and apparently there are some people with like 10 years experience in AI, and I'm not sure where they're getting that from. But are you really looking into much AI stuff with logistics?
We haven't so far. I mean, I was on that panel this week with a lady that her company really specializes in it. I actually took some notes down. It's something I want to explore for us. In our first few iterations, I'll be blatantly honest, that hasn't been the core driving force, right? I am wildly interested to see where and how it plays a role for us. Have not leaned into it a ton, but I'm wildly interested and do feel like there are pieces. But authentically to you, not something that we've done so far, but it's definitely on our roadmap. And I won't say years in the future. I'd say in months or quarters in the future, probably, for us to really explore what are those pieces that could start changing the game for our operation.
Right.
Okay. And then I guess one more question before we get into the rapid fire question.
Oh, the rapid fire round where we really go off script. That's what I love. Like, you guys
you're so
warned
excited
at the beginning, and I was like, man, I'm only scripted, so this is gonna throw me. I can't wait for the rapid fire round. But finish the last scripted one, because this is right. I want to stay in our lane.
Okay. So what would be your biggest piece of advice for young aspiring entrepreneurs?
Oh, one, dream big. It's on my license plate. It's been my motto since I was a kid. People set these really limiters on themselves. I can't do this. I won't do that. It'll never work. All the reasons, and they were just human, right? I go back. That moniker for me was something when I was a kid. I've kept it into my young adulthood. I probably haven't lived it a majority of my life. But then I come back and, like, I'm talking to you guys, and I look out there on the floor and I see what I'm doing today. My license plate says it, all of it's been around me, but now I'm like, damn, I am dreaming big. And then you're like, hey, what are you going to do next? And it's like, hey, we're going to build one of the best transportation companies in the United States. You're like, from scratch? Like, really? But like, why not? Why effing not? Right? Because only we, like, limit ourselves and that stuff. So aspiring entrepreneurs that have 500 reasons why not, you gotta find the reason why, and then you gotta go believe in yourself, and you gotta go do it. That's the biggest lesson you can learn, because there ain't gonna be anybody that's like, oh, all the things pointed to yes, all the things said it was a home run deal, and then honestly, you're gonna fail. I've failed. Like, I didn't just have this gilded freaking journey. Like, I had a failing business with a friend in my 20s. I failed at real estate and lost epic amounts of money during the 2008 crash. Which, now that I think about it, you guys are probably like 2 or 3. But hey, I've had all those experiences, right? It's not a gilded path, but now I'm here, and hey, my job is to learn from all those experiences, and then, create this amazing environment for these trusted people that call Freightvana home.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ready for rapid fire?
Rapid fire zany round. All right, let's get out of our lane, boys. It's time.
Yeah, so 6 questions. We recommend 30 seconds or less for your answers.
Oh,
But
that'll be the hard part. Go ahead.
yeah, the first question: how much sleep do you get?
Oh, I get on average, Braden, about 6.5 to 7 hours. Never really more than 7, but I definitely need 6.
Okay. What's your favorite book and why?
Oh, I love Angela Duckworth Grit. The Science of Grit. Study. You have to read the book. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you better have grit. Have to
Okay.
have grit. You don't have grit, you're done. Why? Because it's never that clear path, entrepreneur. And so she goes through the science of it. Some people are born with it. Some people learn it. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, there is zero. Like you would be talking like minuscule percentage points that you're successful if you're not gritty as an entrepreneur. So if you don't get it, you better fabricate it. You better learn it. You better coach yourself into it. You better find people that can influence you with it. You don't have grit, you fail. Read the book, understand the science, and then figure out if you got it or not. Because if you don't, you probably should just go work somewhere else and not for yourself, because it's probably going to be really, really hard if you want to go big and not just have, like, depending on what you want to do. That was
Yeah.
way more than 30 seconds. I'll use my extra time. BJ, I'll be shorter on future questions. I'm so sorry to ruin the game.
So this next one, I think, doesn't really need to be answered. You start your career over tomorrow with nothing. What's the first thing that you do?
Start Freightvana again and not make all the
Okay.
mistakes I made in the first 2 years here.
What's most important to you in life?
Fulfillment. Seconded by legacy, which are really highly tied together. Be proud of what you've done, the relationships you've built, the person you were, the lives you've helped foster. That's it, man.
If you could change anything about the world, what would it be?
Kinder. So much hate, so much anger. I just think it's really sad. We have just this really limited time for all of us. It's so fragile. Right? You guys aren't old enough, and hopefully not old enough to experience some of the stuff I have. Friends, tragedy, sickness. You just have that. We're just a blip in the entire history of mankind, and to fill the time with hate and anger and animosity for one another in this world is a sad, sad thing. And I think it would be a joyous place if people could figure out how to be loving and caring and kind to one another, despite differences in opinion, religious, or anything else.
And then last one here. How do you want to be remembered?
Uh, just as someone, I had a guy on my team say it, but just as someone willing to make the big bets for the big reasons, someone who lived authentically and passionately for those dreams, for those big dreams, right? Not the things that people said that you could accomplish, but the ones that in your heart you just maybe knew were on that fringe, that outside of possibility, but you were like, you know what? I'm gonna go chase those things, right? I think that's what I want to be remembered by, and then hopefully creating this amazing American private business that can change thousands of lives, and even for what we do, maybe just a little small part of industry, which I'm a part of.
Fantastic. I think you've made this one of the most authentic episodes thus far, breaking down
100%.
all of our structure. This is fantastic. Loved having you as.
Well, you boys, some people would say this. I had, one of my VPs was like, like, you're doing this podcast on a Friday. Like, I have not much time, right? He's like, you're doing this podcast on a Friday. Like, who are these guys? Like, hey, where are they in industry? Where are they? Like, is it like this? What, like, where is it going to be published? Like, I said, no, it's just two young kids that have some dreams and ambitions. And he's like, I don't get it. I'm like, you weren't once a young kid with dreams and ambitions? Wouldn't it be cool if someone maybe older, more experienced, maybe without that time, would foster and help support you know, two young guys' dreams and ambitions. I've got all these people in my life, guys, that there's these moments, these people that will impact your lives that you don't know when it's going to come, right? But they do it. And when you look back on it and you take inventory of it, you'll realize there was no reason they should have done those things. But those are those things that like made you a better person, taught you something different, opened a door that would have never been opened. And so why am I on the podcast with you guys? Not because I think you're going to change the trajectory of Freightvana from an industry perspective, but shit, you might, because I have no idea where you two bright and aspiring boys are going to go. And maybe one day, and when you guys are the next Joe Rogan or have a podcast with 1 million followers, you'll go into the annals of your things, and we'll be on a different podcast, and you'll be in this crazy ass studio, and you'll have the best guests in the world, right? And you'll be like, hey, you know what though? Remember that psychopath logistician Shannon that we talked to in like number 3? Like that dude was dope. Let's bring him back on, right? I don't freaking know that's not the path for you. I hope that could be, if that's your path, I hope it is. And I hope years from now we're on that crazy studio and I'm flying in and we're just doing like a 5 years later, like Shark Tank type crazy ass podcast. And you guys are telling me your story and where it all went from there. And if not, I'm good with it too. But like, I just love it. And I hope that the, whatever journey you boys take, like kudos to you, Gavin, for reaching out, shooting your shot, right?
Thanks for saying yes.
I thought it was bold on you boys, and I think where you guys are at, your personalities, your perseverance, you doing stuff like this on a Friday night when, you know, your comrades are probably running around, you know, doing whatever the young kids do. Like that's a testament to what you guys want to be, and not that that's a negative on them, but you're built different if you're going to do a podcast with some old dude, you know, from Phoenix on a Friday night because you want to learn. And I think that learning, that curiosity, that ambition that you guys show is really amazing. And I hope you guys don't ever lose that.
I appreciate it.
This has been fantastic. Definitely don't think this is going to be the last time we have you on. This was too fun not to. But everyone, go track down Shannon and Freightvana. We'll be sure to link the socials in the description. Let them know and do awesome content. Sure to catch our next episode Tuesday at noon. Be there. Be late.